This is David Delp, Creative Director at Pilot Fire. I'm speaking today with A.J. Jacobs about the different roles he plays, and in particular, the role of cousin. As a cousin, A.J. has a big goal that we can all help with, and we'll also see how his enthusiasm for this role can inspire us all to be better cousins. So, A.J., I want to welcome you and thank you in advance for this scintillating conversation we're about to have.
I am looking forward to it. Am I facing the right way or the wrong
No,
way?
the other way.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's that?
Here, wave
Wait
across the ether to me. There we go.
do a fist bump. Can you see if you can?
Oh yeah, let's try the fist bump. All right, excellent. Let's see if that worked.
Like that.
Good enough.
Yes, I'm delighted to be here. I met you at World Domination Summit. I donned the goggles and I'm ready for part two.
Good. Well, as introduction, let me say that you play a lot of different roles in your life. Professionally, you're an author, you're a journalist, you're a lecturer, and you're a human guinea pig. We'll get to that in a little bit. But you've written four New York Times bestsellers. And I want to talk about those just a little bit,
Sure.
including The Know-It-All, One Man's Humble Quest to Become the Smartest Person in the World. So you aspired to be the smartest person in the world. That is amazing.
I aspired. I didn't achieve, but I aspired.
Well, how do you measure such things, right?
That's right.
Besides, you'd have a little competition in there, and I don't want to argue with you about who's the smartest here. You also wrote The Year of Living Biblically, One Man's Humble Quest to Follow the Bible as literally as possible. And I saw the slides of you doing that, your stance in was it
Square?
Times Square.
Yes. I
robes.
committed to that project. So I followed everything, the Ten Commandments, but also growing a huge beard. The Bible says you cannot shave. So I had the beard, I had a robe, I had sandals. I went the whole way.
That's awesome. Great. You also wrote Drop Dead Healthy, One Man's Humble Quest for Bodily Perfection, which obviously you totally achieved. I can tell from here. And finally, I think your most recent New York Times bestseller was My Life as an Experiment.
Right, that was a collection of different experiments
Right.
going back many years. So one of them was like 10 years ago, I decided to outsource my life to India. So I hired a team of people in Bangalore to do everything for me, from emails to answering my phone to arguing with my wife. So that's in there, and a bunch of others.
How did the arguments go, by the way?
Much better. They are just more diplomatic than I would have been. So she loved it.
That's
She
really
preferred to
great.
argue with that.
I want to tell you a little bit about why talking about roles is important in the Pilot Fire project, because, I know you've appeared on many different venues. You've talked to Oprah, you've been on the Today Show, Dr. Oz, and the Colbert Report.
They were a warm-up for this.
Yes, I know. And so Pilot Fire, the thing about Pilot Fire is that I like people to take the role of pilot. In other words, take the role of steering their own lives intentionally, which you have done to great extent. You are a role model pilot. And one of the other things to do is to look at the different roles we play in our lives. So, for instance, if we explore how we are in different situations and with different people, we can be our best in those things. It's a very hard thing for many people to feel like. I think there's a lot of pressure on us to come up with some big aspirational purpose we have in our lives. And I think that's, especially in the personal development realm, it can be kind of depressing, because I don't think many people feel like they have a purpose. But if they say,
Right.
who can I be when I'm at my best as a father, for instance, or who can I be when I'm at my best as a writer? It's much easier to say, oh, these are the things that are clear to me about being a conversationalist, or being
Right.
a friend or a lover. And so before we get to your role as cousin, which is the focus of this conversation, I want to ask you a little bit about the different other roles you play in your life. I know you're also a husband and you're a son, obviously, and a father. Uh, how do you engage with those roles?
Well, I love that way of looking at it because we are not a monolith. We are a bunch of different people collected in one body. And that's okay. I think it's okay to accept that. And one thing I like to do, speaking of roles, is even in my job, I think of myself almost as a method writer. So I'll take on when I'm writing a book about the Bible, I'm saying, you know what, I'm going to take on this role and I'm going to play it to the hilt. I'm going to see how I can be the best biblical follower I can be. And a lot of times it's all about faking it till you make it.
Mm.
I love that. I don't love that phrase because I think it's a little glib, but there's a better phrase I say uh, that the founder of Habitat for Humanity said, it's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than to think your way into a new way of acting. So I love that. And, I wake up with, like everyone, full of despair sometimes, but I pretend that I'm confident and I act as if I'm confident. And after a few hours, often my brain will catch up with my body. So I love the idea of playing roles and playing the role of a confident person or a compassionate person, even if you're not feeling it at that time, you'll start to feel it.
Yeah, I totally believe that too. I mean, I've definitely had bouts with doubt and bouts with despair and bouts with things that feel like, I call those shadow roles. They come in, they creep into your life, and they make you feel like I'm behaving in ways that are mysterious to me. And we don't need to get into that, but I also wanted to say that your shadow roles are just as important, in a way, maybe more important. That those moments of doubt or those questions that come into your mind, that make you behave in ways that baffle you are also roles that you play, and
Right.
they're just roles that you don't understand very well.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So you are on all these humble quests, and it must be that you identify somehow just in that role of the seeker or explorer. Um, how do you look at yourself when you're embarking on a humble quest?
Well, I'm very curious, and I think curiosity is really one of the keys to happiness. And I once interviewed Alex Trebek, who is the host of Jeopardy, and
Right.
he quote, "It really doesn't make sense logically, but I totally empathize with it." He said, "I am curious about everything, even really boring stuff." So I am curious about boring stuff because once you get into it, it's not boring.
It's so true.
I'm sure I've never dived into accounting, but I'm sure there's fascinating stuff in accounting.
Why is the accountant accounting is the quintessential role that people think of
It
as
is. I
boring.
know. They've got to rebrand.
They
Maybe
do.
they
They
name
do.
like number slingers or something. Cowboy.
Somebody just last night said to me, and I found it one of the biggest compliments I've ever heard. Said, "You are the most curious person I've met. Have you always been that way?" And I said, I used to be inquisitive. It would bother me why people behaved the way they did when I was younger, and I wanted to know, why did you do that? And eventually it turned a corner where it turned from why did you do that to, why did you do that? Like, why? I wonder why. Like, you behaved in a way that I wouldn't behave, and you behaved kind of like a few people I did, but I don't want to assume I know you did what you did. And
Well, I find that a very helpful way to look at life. Like when someone is behaving, when someone's being terrible to you,
right.
uh, you can't, you're going to get angry. But to curb that anger, one way to do it would be like, that is interesting. I wonder why they act. What's the psychology behind that? Uh, and almost treat it like you're an anthropologist and say, what a strange way
Mm,
to react.
mm.
And that really takes the edge off of it. And I find that's one of
Oh,
my.
absolutely. I think anthropologist is probably uh, a great role that I want to learn more about because it is the inquisitive curiosity that helps us understand other peoples through the eyes of anthropologists. And if we could understand each other um, better, of course, instead of being mad at each other, I think, well, the world would be a much better place. Which brings me to the important role that you play. Now,
Yes, sir.
you are focused on being a cousin. Why is that so important to you?
Well, this is my next project and my current obsession. It started a few months ago. I got an email from a guy who told me that he had read one of my books and that he was my 12th cousin. And I thought it was one of these Nigerian scammers, of course, but it turned out it's not. It turned out he's this one of these new breed of genealogists who are making a family tree of they're reinventing family trees.
Mm.
And it's not just you and your 100 relatives. They're massive trees that people are combining on the internet. And my family tree is right now the biggest in the world.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
it is. I mean, I'm not the one who made it. I'm helping to make it with thousands of other people. But it happens to have 79 million people on it. So I have 79 million relatives, 79 million cousins, including friends from college. All Every U.S. president is on this family tree.
Wow.
Uh, Gwyneth Paltrow, Albert Einstein, and I'm not boasting because you could be on it. It's very easy to get on. If you go to my website, it'll give you steps on how to connect to this family tree. And with all these relatives, I love this idea that we're one big family. I thought, let's throw the biggest family reunion ever. So that's what I'm doing. I'm hosting the biggest family reunion in New York, but it'll have satellite events around the globe. And that's June 6, 2015.
Right.
So I'm trying to unite all of my cousins, and I am playing the role of the ultimate cousin.
The ultimate cousin. Well, that's great. I have actually signed up. I have not
Oh,
found the connection to you yet. I was hoping to before we talked, but
we'll
I'm
get there. We'll get there. I
we
have
will.
a team of amazing researchers who are volunteering because they believe in the cause, and they are going through thousands of people's names, including yours, to figure out how we're connected. So we'll get there. We have a
Mhm.
few months.
So now, I don't think a lot of people think about their role as cousin. Like, what does it mean to be a great cousin? And what do you think is different when you meet somebody? What do you expect from them that's different than you would from somebody else if you knew they were your cousin?
Well, I do get a lot of people when I tell them they're my cousin. They ask if they can borrow money. So I don't. I've run out of money. All the the event, by the way, it's all going to Alzheimer's. So I'm
Mm.
not making money off my cousins.
Hmm.
It's a benefit. But I do think that it changes your perspective a little. And I'll
Mm.
give you a very silly example. Judge Judy, she's the
Sure,
TV
of
person.
course.
I always found her incredibly abrasive and obnoxious. Then I found out she's my eighth cousin. And
Mm.
I was like, you know what? Maybe she's not so bad. She's kind of probably underneath all that, she's a sweetheart. So it shifted my perspective. And I've heard this from hundreds of other people who are working on this family tree. When you realize someone is your cousin, even distant, even through marriage, even through 30 steps away,
Right.
it has a subtle effect on you, and you think, you know what? Let's try to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's not going to end racism and war, but it's going to nudge us towards more tolerance when we
Perfect.
realize we share 99.9% of our DNA.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree, and I love that about this project. I think it's perfect that way because it's so simple, and I think we do expect different things from people when we think of them as our cousin. And I wonder, do you think you behave differently? So as a cousin, if you're somebody's cousin, are there things you're willing to do besides lend them money? And I won't ask. Um, but are there things that being more tolerant obviously is one thing, but
Right.
there are other things that we tend to do for cousins that we wouldn't for other people.
I do think it's made me more of a friend of mine is a great writer named Adam Grant. He wrote a book called Givers and Takers, and all about the importance of being a giver and how that can actually help you be more happy and successful. And I think it's just being cousins with someone gives you that extra incentive to be a giver. And it's like the ultimate social network. It's like, Facebook or Twitter, but you're actually cousins with these people.
Yeah. Who are some of the most surprising people that were really close to you in the tree? Like, I know you share a gene with George H.W. Bush,
Right,
and
that was surprising. I mean, I am a Democrat. I live in New York City, so I have to be. But I actually know him a bit because I helped him with a charity that he has, and I think he's fantastic. I was so excited when I found out that he was my cousin, and I asked his chief of staff if I could come down and interview him and take a photo, and he said, well, you guys are cousins. I guess it's okay. So I went down there. Um, I think, I don't know how much genetic material we share. I think we are cousins by marriage. I wish I shared some of his boldness with
mm,
uh, like parachuting on his 90th birthday.
wow,
I hope that I can do that. I'm not much of a physical adventurer. I'm more of a social and psychological adventurer.
right.
So he's maybe I can inherit some of his boldness.
Well, maybe, knowing that you have some of his genes in you will
That's
help
right.
embolden you, and at least you can fake it, right?
Exactly.
So, what do you think? Like, I think when I think about cousins, I think people want to know. Well, does he snore at night? Like, Ricky Gervais, does he snore at night, or Chrissy Teigen? There are things that cousins know about each other, like what's he really like? I remember once I called up the IRS to get um, a form from them, and I told him my name's David Delp, and the guy said, "Are you related to Brad Delp, was the lead singer for Boston? I don't know if you remember him,
Uh, and
famous
are you?
Delp." And I didn't know if I was related, but
Oh,
I said to him, "Yep, yep, he's a cousin of mine." And the guy was like, "Really? Oh, that is so awesome! You're Brad Delp's cousin. What's he like?" And I thought, I am just making this guy's day. And I said, "Well, he's doing solo stuff. They broke up a while ago. He's doing solo stuff, and he's been quiet." And just that piece of information, I'm sure he got off the phone and was telling everybody, "I just talked to Brad Delp's cousin. Rock
that is some
on."
great inside information that you could not get from the internet.
That's right. That's right.
That is hilarious. Yeah, I know. I don't have any great secrets on George. He does. You ask about snoring, and he actually does have sleep apnea. He told me, so I got that for you.
There you go.
Ricky Gervais. I met him, and he is a cousin. He's about 23 steps away. I
Nice.
met him because we were both doing a radio show,
Hmm.
and he's obsessed with religion. And I had written a book about the Bible, so we talked about religion for a while.
Oh, right, right.
Chrissy Teigen is a Sports Illustrated supermodel, and she and I are distant cousins through her husband, John Legend.
Hmm.
And what do I have? I don't have any secrets on her. She did say she has a dog that recently pooped on the airplane, and it was a very uncomfortable situation. That's the gossip I have on her.
Well, there you go. See, I mean, that's all it takes. All it takes is like, if you're a cousin, you can get the inside scoop and you can pass it on with more authority, I think.
Exactly.
That's right. Okay, so I know that we're all soon going to be knowledgeable that we're cousins, but there's going to be an awkward stage of introducing yourself as a cousin. And I'm wondering, you suspected the Nigerian scam was coming your way. Do you have any hints, because you've done this more than most people, of how we can introduce ourselves to each other as cousins and and
Yeah.
make it work quickly.
Well, it's interesting. It has become an amazing networking tool. So,
Right,
for
exactly.
instance, I've been on several shows like Good Morning America, and one of my approaches was to the producer, "Hey, I'm your cousin. I'm your fourth cousin, so
Wow.
maybe we should." And it works sometimes. I say about 20% of the time, people are freaked out and want to cross to the other side of the street. But 80% of the time, if you do it with sort of an open heart and
Mm.
just matter of factly say, I'm building the biggest family, I'm part of, you could say, I'm part of the biggest family tree on earth. Turns out we're cousins. Love to talk to you about XYZ. It
Yeah.
actually works.
Well, there you
So I
go. It
recommend it.
also really helps if you've done a little research and you can figure out what the connection is.
Oh,
Right?
yeah, that's what I mean. You
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
go
yeah.
in. So you want to go to, not to plug my own thing, but to
Please
plug my own
do.
thing,
No, this is the point.
globalfamilyreunion.com. If you
Right.
go to that and click join the family, it'll tell you how to get on this massive family tree so that you can figure out how you're related to almost anyone else on earth.
Well,
And then you can use that.
okay. Well, this leads me to your big goal, which you started to state, which is before you die, you want to unite the whole world as in one giant family tree. And
Right.
we've talked a little bit about why. So this year, you're going to have this big family reunion. So tell us a little bit about what that's going to be like, where it is. Go ahead and plug it away. I want to hear some
I
details.
need people there, and I think I'm a little biased, but I think it's going to be an awesome event. It's June 6th, 2015, on a Saturday.
Hmm.
The main event is in New York on the grounds of the World's Fair,
Mm.
but there are satellite events all around. So if you go to globalfamilyreunion.com, you can figure that out. And it's going to be, it's sort of like a TED conference, meets a music festival, meets a comedy festival, meets a family reunion. So great speakers, George H.W. Bush,
Wow.
comedians like Nick Kroll, Scott Simon from NPR is giving a talk. And
Nice.
then there will be music. I'm in the midst of hiring Sister Sledge to sing We Are Family.
Perfect.
And there will be games, Olympics, contests, education, exhibits. And I am just super excited. And it's going to be cheap, $10 or so. And all proceeds will go to Alzheimer's. So we're looking for cousins all over. So please go to the website so you can join the
Okay, well,
movement.
I'm gonna try to help that happen. I'm gonna ask other
Nice.
people to help that happen. Um, and finally, uh, in your dream, what do you think? What do you imagine? Because I know you don't know what will happen, but what do you hope will be the outcome of something like this?
Well, I do hope that uh, it will happen every year. That will break the world record for biggest reunion, which is about 4,514 right now.
Yeah.
And then the more less concrete goal would be actually to make the world a kinder, gentler place, as my cousin George H.W. Bush says, and help solve Alzheimer's, because this is a crazy, horrible disease that affects 60 million people. And we really are coming close to getting a cure. So your money, my money in this event and all the other Alzheimer's events actually can make a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, that's a great reason.
I gave
AJ,
you here.
is there any last thing you want to say? I really appreciate your time, and if you have any last thing you want to say.
No, just thanks for being my cousin.
Yeah,
And thank
yeah, and let's try the fist bump thing. You need to go to your right, and
Okay, yeah.
right about midway, I'm gonna go low. There we go. Okay, excellent, excellent. I'm sure that didn't work. Have a great rest of your day, and thank
You
you,
too.
cousin.
Thank you,
I can't
David.
wait to find out what our connection is.
I would love it.
All
Thanks,
right,
David. Talk to you soon.
bye bye.
I hope you like this.